It mightn't be the biggest problem that people would perceive that's facing the church at the moment, but one that causes a lot of misinformation and anxiety, I would suggest to people, is the whole issue that has become very widespread at the moment of the validity of pre-signed mass cards that can be bought in outlets literally all over the country. Now, the background to it is that a few years ago, a few sharp individuals saw an opening here, and they started printing these mass cards, putting a stamp on them, and that was suddenly widespread because it was very handy for people to go in and buy it for £2 or £1, as the case might be at the time. But the Pontifical Mission Aid Society here in Dublin, Propagation of the Faith, they did an investigation of the names they could decipher. Not all of them could be made out. And they found that some of the priests were dead. They're not too sure some of them existed at all. And certainly a couple of them were off the mission. And what happened seemingly was that these printers, or people, the company that was at the forefront of it, which was based down in the Midlands, they were selling them by the tens of thousands, and every so often they'd send a few pound out to these priests. So it became quite an issue, and obviously there was an enormous, I don't know whether you'd use the word fraud, but certainly there was a misapprehension on the part of people. And the reason of concern of the church, one was the way people were misguided in understanding them, but more particularly is touching the very heart of the church's life of worship, the Mass. Now, there was quite a lot of publicity, so the practice died down, but in the last years has suddenly flourished again. And a number of us would have made comment on it. I've made comment recently. And again, it would be in the context that it's abusing the Mass. That's nothing new in the history of the church, that people use the church or the instrument of the church or the sacrament of the church to make money. When that goes back actually to the Acts of the Apostles, you'll find it there, where Simeon wanted to buy the power that Peter and John had, and that's where the word simony came out of. There's an element of that certainly in it. There's an element of fraud, one would have to say. And there's certainly people are taking an easy option. Given that background, the reason why people get concerned about it from the point of view of the church is that they're talking about a central act of worship, which is the Mass. They're talking about the Mass being used in a meaningless way, it has to be said, for what's an extraordinarily emotional and sensitive time for people. And there is a very strong tradition, not only in the teaching of the church, but particularly in Ireland, of expressing solidarity, expressing spiritual solidarity in prayer with people that are bereaved on the occasion of a death in the family. And that's a very, very strong and sacred tradition. And it's one of the strengths of our faith in the country still, that when people die, the neighbours turn up. Now, that's not the situation everywhere, but it continues to be a very strong expression of a deeply Christian solidarity that's in our country. And this here is only trading on it, it's abusing it, it's using it. It's a meaningless gesture, really, because there's no spiritual value whatsoever. And I would see it as being an insult to the people that are mourning and an insult to the dead. The mass cards that come into parishes, they're generally, the money received for those are nearly always sent abroad to the missions, where you have immense poverty, and the Vatican even coordinates the sending of them through the Pontifical Mission Aid Society. And so people that are buying a genuine mass card are genuinely supporting the missions. And not only are they doing something, a pious solidarity act, expressing solidarity with the bereaved, but they're also participating in the mission outreach of the church.